have you all. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Sylvia. I am the co-founder and president of Korean Culture Society. We are a non-profit society whose purpose is to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion in our communities through education, through events, and through programs like this one, Different and Culture. But before we go any further, I would like to make a land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that we are in the territories of the Esquimalt and Southeast First Nations. Territories we gather, we raise our children, and we work. And now, I would like to introduce to you our feature chef for tonight. Her name is Daniela Pinto, and she is from Brazil.
Everyone, good night.
And here we have our host, Jimena Londoño. She's from Colombia. And together they will bring Brazil's flavors to your home. And I hope you have fun, okay? Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Kitchen and Culture. This is going to be an exciting journey to Brazil. We're going to be learning how to make feijoada with our lovely cook, Daniela from Brazil. And thank you very much, guys, for joining here today. I feel very privileged to be your host. My name is Jimena Londoño, and I am from Cali, Colombia. So culturally speaking, we might be sharing a few things together. It will be an opportunity for me also to share a little bit of my culture and my background. But, you know, the spotlight will be on Brazil tonight. So just a few, just a few little things to start. I will be checking my cell phone because I will be getting the questions as a text. You guys are welcome from home to use the chat in the Zoom to text all of the questions that you might have. So feel free to do that, and I will be getting those questions on my cell phone. So I'll be checking them. If you guys have started chopping your ingredients already, you're going to start smelling the garlic and all the beautiful ingredients. So without further ado, let's start. And well, Daniela, why don't you give us a little overview of all the ingredients that we're going to be using tonight?
To everyone that is at home as well watching this recipe. I'm very privileged as well to be sharing a little bit of my culture with all of you. So tonight we'll be preparing feijoada, which is a very traditional Brazilian food. It's pork and black bean stew. So for the recipe, what we have today, it's 300 grams 150 grams of bacon chopped. So we have 1 large onion diced. And I have to unwrap here still, but we have also garlic minced. So I have 3 big heads of garlic minced. I have 450 grams of dry black beans that I left soak since last night. So the beans are more soft. I have 3 cups of rice pre-washed here. So I have a bunch of kale cut in 1/4 inch slices. And for the first time, actually, I'm trying this kale. I found at the supermarket today a different type of kale. So I felt a little bit adventurous today to try this one here in Canada. So let's see how it goes. And we have 3 oranges as well for decoration, and 2 sausages cut in big pieces. So today I found at the supermarket the double smoked Croatian sausage and the country style sausage. And then I cut in different slices so my audience know that I have different types of meat. And here I have pork chop, pork ribs cut in single pieces, and pork loin also cut in small pieces. And for seasoning, we have salt and pepper. And I also brought some cumin and bay leaves. And I will use some olive oil to prepare the rice and the kale. And for serving, I also brought some farofa, I brought some farofa, which this is actually come from Brazil. I know that it's not available in every place here in the island, but this one I found in one supermarket here, and it's the one that I like. So we'll go for that.
In which supermarket, right?
I found this one at Walmart. Yes. Okay. Should we start? Okay. So first turn the.
So if you guys back home haven't started, chopping all your ingredients, go ahead and start. If you need a bit more time, let us know so we can slow down because we have everything already chopped. Then we're going to be probably moving forward a little bit quicker. But, take your time, guys, back home.
So start just adding here. What I want to do with the bacon is just to get the grease. So I will fry this bacon here for a few minutes, let it get crispy, and I will remove the bacon out of the grease, and then I'll continue using the bacon grease to prepare.
So we have to keep the bacon grease.
Yes. Feijoada is a dish that it's a pork base. So as much pork that we can add here for more flavor. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, let's start here. We start to smell the bacon, which is awesome. Love it.
So you also mentioned, Daniela, that if in case you didn't soak the beans overnight, it's okay anyway. You can just let it cook for a little bit longer.
Absolutely, yeah. So as the beans is a hard grain, it's usually recommended to soak overnight. But if you didn't have a chance to do that, there is no problem. The only thing is that you should wait a little bit more, cook a little bit longer, and then it's all fine. Okay.
Also, the fact that we're using a gas stove means we're going to be cooking much faster. So if you guys actually feel like you're lagging behind, it's, just let us know. We can adapt. We already have everything pre-chopped and we have an industrial gas stove. So we're going to probably go a bit faster.
Because at home I have an electric stove. So it will be challenging for me as well. So bear with me. And it's very interesting because back in Brazil, it's more common to have gas stoves. Yeah, but I learned how to cook here in Canada.
You want me to do a little sound check? Okay, so where are we at? Bacon is getting nice and crispy. Well, golden.
Yeah, it will take a few more minutes.
Mm-hmm. So all that grease that the bacon releases, we're gonna keep that for the cooking, right?
Exactly. I will use the bacon grease to sear the pork meat.
Beautiful.
I hope you guys are enjoying the bacon smell at your home as well, because I love the smell.
Okay, let me check if we have any questions from the audience. No questions. Feel free, guys, to let us know if you have any questions. Also, if I may notice, the onions and the garlic are not chopped so small. They're pretty, you know, pretty big-ish chunks.
Yeah, and feijoada is a very versatile dish. So the way that I'm teaching today is the way that I learned to make here in Canada for my kids. So I don't put too many spices on it, but at home, if our friends prefer to have more spices, they can also add different type of spices that they like. So the way that I'm doing here today, it's my own way to cook feijoada, exactly. And it was in a very easy way so my kids could enjoy the way that they want, and I can add more um, hot sauce on mine. Okay. And just pay attention here to the bacon.
Okay, so we have a question.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit more about the background of the feijoada?
Absolutely. So the feijoada is the it's traditionally from the slavery period. So it was a very common dish developed by the slaves. So back in that period, the colonizers, the owners of the farms, they had the porks and they give to the slaves only the low quality parts of the pork, like the pork feet or the pork ear and tail, and they used to uh, that part of the pork to make the black bean stew. It's just hot. Just a second. And now became a very traditional dish in all Brazil. Every region in Brazil has a different recipe, exactly. People from Minas Gerais, they really enjoy spicy, so they add lots of um, peppers, different types of peppers. It's almost there. How's your bacon at home as well? Hope it's almost there.
And so I'm guessing you could do a vegetarian version of the feijoada. It probably wouldn't be called feijoada, but you could replace the pork for, I don't know, a thick tofu or something like that, and you know you could still.
Yeah, I have some vegetarian friends in Brazil that used to do make feijoada with substitution for the pork.
Oops. Let me grab it.
So just remove here.
Make sure to hold it with two of these. Okay, so
the bacon is golden and crispy, so I'm just removing the bacon because I want like this afterwards for garnishing. And I will keep the bacon fat to continue cooking the onions and the garlic now. Okay. So we'll reserve the bacon. Thank you. And it's so much easier to cook with friends, right?
oh, much nicer.
And this is actually something that is very common in the Brazilian culture, like in parties or in dinners when we have with friends. We bring the ingredients and we cook together and we wash the dishes together. So this is very common. And what I'm adding now, I will add half of this onion. The other half I'll save for the rice. So let it get soft a little bit. And then I will add the garlic.
Tell us about additional optional spices that we could use.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. So you can even I tried make things with gram masala
Ah,
and turmeric. You can use those different spices if you have at home. Anything that you cook with beans sounds good. I tried with gram masala and it was really good. So now I'll add a third of this garlic.
okay. So a third of the rice is going to go for the rice and the other third for the kale, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So just
So the idea is to get the onions and the garlic golden, transparent, sort of.
correct. Just cook a little bit and then I'll add the meat here to simmer.
Okay.
So now I'm adding the pork ribs and the pork loin.
Okay. So we're just adding the pork so they can seize a little bit.
Correct. Thank you.
Is that the word in English? Seize?
Sear.
Seal.
Sear.
Sear. Ah. There you go.
I had to learn that word as well. Thank you.
Okay.
And sorry at home you guys couldn't hear. Let me know if you want me to explain anything again. So just confirming again. Here in the pot we have bacon fat. We have onions, garlic, the pork loin, and the pork chops.
Okay. So at this point, no other spices are added to the mix at this point.
No, if you want, you can put some salt in the meat as well before.
Okay.
It's good. Let's put some cumin here. I like the idea. So I'll add one tablespoon of cumin, and I'll add also like table of black pepper, tablespoon. You know, I'll put some salt later. Okay,
Smells good.
smells
See, I
like
think here
home.
in Canada, I think here in Canada we tend to dispose of the bacon fat, and you guys do the opposite. You guys keep it to cook with it.
Yes.
Well, I think in older days, I mean, I think here in Canada they used to keep the fat, the bacon fat. I heard it from a friend. But nowadays,
That's a good question.
nowadays under the sink they always have a pot
Allowed?
with.
Okay. Hey, let's talk aloud. Okay.
Okay, well, it smells good, for sure.
I was forgetting about the sausages.
Oh, okay. So once the meat is a little bit golden, then you add the sausages.
Yes, just to heat it up. Okay. one last minute, and then we will add the beans. So for the beans, I change the water twice today, every 6 hours. And the last one that I added here to soak the beans, I added boiled water just to make the beans more soft, to cook faster. So I will add the beans with this water in the pot.
Okay, so quick question now. This
Yes.
You changed the water a few times
Yes.
while
2
the
times.
beans 2 times while the beans were soaking. So if you're just putting the beans right in the pot without soaking them, it's best to give them a good rinse and then put them in, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And so how much water do you put more or less?
Now I will put around 2 or 3 liters, but at home you should put water until it cover the meat and the beans inside. So it will depend on how much meat and beans you have at home. So you should put water until it cover all the ingredients in the pot.
Okay, wow.
So right here,
Nicely.
I'll add some salt now. I'm putting 1 tablespoon salt and let it boil again.
So is this sort of now it's just boiling time?
Yes, I will just refill the water and then I'll come back because we need water for the rice as well. So for the stew, that happens in the best families. So for the stew, we just let it boil again. We can turn the heat up just to speed up a little bit. And now we move to the rice. Actually, I will do the following. I will put the feijoada on the other burner, and then we continue in that one. Do you mind just pass me the? I'll put this here. And then we'll use this one.
You're going for the rice?
Yes. So for the rice, we'll start with olive oil, or if you have any other type of vegetable oil at home, that's okay as well. So I'm adding 3-4 tablespoons of olive oil. Let it heat a little bit. And I'll add the rest of the onions. Leave this here for you. And I'll check the water.
This is the Brazilian recipe for rice.
Yes.
It's very similar to the Colombian one as well, actually.
So this is the very interesting thing because I back in Brazil I didn't cook. I had people working at my place that used to cook for me and for my kids. So I had to learn how to cook food when I moved to Canada. So when I arrived here, I was gifted a rice cooker, and I have been using the rice cooker since then. And it's okay, it's not a Brazilian rice, but it's okay. So for the show, I had to learn how to cook rice Brazilian way because,
You wanted to do the real.
Yeah, exactly.
The real feijoada with the
and
real.
actually tastes good, tastes better.
It tastes much better, for sure.
Because it has all the other spices as well, and we cook.
Of course, the fact that we're frying up the onions and we're going to be frying up the garlic and the rice as well. It definitely gives it a more interesting taste for sure.
Only the smell that
Yeah.
starts is so good. Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
For here,
So a third of the garlic goes in.
yes. I'm still saving some for the kale.
The kale.
I'll remove this.
Perfect.
It's so interesting how food connects you with your culture.
So you learned to cook here when you moved to Canada.
Yes. And the first time actually that I prepared feijão for my kids because they were missing the Brazilian food. And I said, okay, I have to learn how to cook feijão. I called to my friend on Skype and she was with me on the video teaching me how to prepare feijão. So it was a long journey since today.
Have you gotten more into Brazilian cuisine, or do you just have a few Brazilian dishes that you go to and rather international cuisine that you cook on an everyday basis?
Yeah, I am very curious. There's a question for me right there.
But I just asked you one. maybe we can answer this one first.
I'll answer.
I mean,
Yeah, both.
You know.
So, yes, I had to reconnect with food here and learn how to connect with food. And feijão, arroz e feijão is something that is very common. Sorry about that. But on other things that are that brings us memory of Brazil is brigadeiro. That every birthday party, my kids wants to have some brigadeiro made for them. It was one recipe that I start sharing with the schools when they were celebrating birthday parties there, and coxinhas as well, which is a kind of a samosa, but it's different.
Okay.
And
like an empanada.
Yes, like an empanada, but I don't know if the dough is the
The
same.
dough is probably not the same.
What is?
The dough that we use in Colombia is based. It's corn based.
It's corn based, yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, coxinhas. I will add now the rice.
So you previously rinsed the rice, right?
Yes, twice.
Okay. So rinse the rice twice, get the water, strain the water off,
Yes.
and give it a nice fry up with the onions and the garlic.
Perfect.
So yeah, so you tend to cook you have a few Brazilian meals that you cook now.
Yeah, and it's super nice because the kids have those memories as well. So they kind of ask like, oh, I remember this, I remember quindim, and then for me it's like a challenge to try and learn how to make that recipe. So it became something fun within our family as well. Like, was something that I had to learn to enjoy, and I really enjoy cooking. And it was a way to keep connected with our culture. And I'll add the salt now.
Okay, so just to recap, for the rice, we fry the onion with the bacon fat. We let it golden just a tiny bit. Then we add the garlic. We let it fry a little bit as well. And once they're both nice and golden, we add the rice, which has been previously washed twice and strained. So now we're frying all of the ingredients together. And you can see back home, it gives a little color to the rice.
Correct.
It becomes nice and golden sort of thing.
Correct. And I will add the water now. So the proportion is 2 cups of water for each cup of rice. So I added here more or less 6 cups of water. And I'll taste for salt. It's good. Tastes good.
Okay, so let's recap again. So we use the bacon fat to fry up the onions. When they were a little bit golden, we added the garlic. When the garlic was golden as well, then we added the rice that has previously been washed twice. So you strain the water from the rice and you add the rice and you fry it up with the garlic and the onions. Let it golden a little bit and then you add the water.
Correct.
Now we're at that stage.
Correct.
So I'm guessing a little bit of like do you put any spices now at
The
this
rice?
point or just the salt?
I just add the salt.
Just the salt. Okay. Perfect.
Feijoada
Feijoada is
starting
to boil. Nice.
Now change this here.
Okay.
So I will need your help. This will take a little bit of time. Like the feijoada now will take at least half an hour, 40 minutes to boil, and then I need a time check with you to see how it goes. And then we can start cooking the kale. Actually, we can cut
Okay,
this.
so now the idea is to let the water of the rice boil, and then when the water is boiling, maybe turn it down
Yes.
so it cooks, simmer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I need everybody helping me how to cook this rice. So if at home you are having challenges as well, we are in this together too. Okay.
Beautiful. So the feijoada, oh, it's smelling good.
Start.
The feijoada, once it's boiling, you just leave it at a medium high, sort of, just boil
Yeah.
the whole time. Because it has to cook properly,
It
right?
has to cook, exactly. The thing is, if you have time, the better, the longer you can let it cook in slow.
Okay.
It's better because it will take more the flavor of the meat. So, for example, feijoada is even better tomorrow because the sauce of the beans will be
Okay.
thicker and more, I don't know how you say encorpado in English. Do you know? It's the same in
Say
Spanish.
it again.
Encorpado.
That doesn't make a
No,
sense.
it's not that liquidy. It's more
Oh,
thick.
so it's thick. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's thickener.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so slow cooking would be preferable, but if you don't have the time,
Yeah.
you can just let it boil in medium high.
Now you're talking. Okay. And this one.
Good. Okay, so the rice is now boiling.
Yeah. So
So we're gonna put it at low, so it cooks very gently.
perfect.
Perfect.
And we can start the kale. And I'll let you do that.
Perfect. Yes, that's what I'm here for. Okay. So let's use this one.
Yeah.
Low-ish or medium?
Medium. So we'll start. Put the I'll start just adding olive oil here. So 2-3 tablespoons of olive oil. So let's see how this kale goes. I really was feeling adventures.
You have to feel adventurous someday.
Right. I
Okay,
think that
so
is the idea. And
So the
especially if you live in a multicultural place, like the best thing is to have those opportunities to experiment and to try different ingredients and different recipes. So I said, why not? Thank you.
Okay. So the other third of the garlic is now in the pan. We're frying it
Yes.
for the kale.
Yeah. So what I'll do um, while you're preparing the garlic, I will just give a quick rinse in the kale. I'll put water here and turn the water because I want the kale moisty.
Okay. Okay, so right now what we have in the pan is we've just added some olive oil and the other part of the garlic. And we're just getting the garlic in a sort of medium low to become nice and golden. And Daniela just washed the kale because we want it also moist in order to put it in the pan.
Let me just
Perfect.
lower.
Okay.
Golden.
Fried garlic smells good.
Smells good. I love it
Very
too.
good. Okay.
This. I forgot to add the bay leaves. There's still time for that.
Okay. Bay leaves.
So I'm adding bay leaves to the feijoada. And the bay leaves, they are good as well to help digest the beans.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good. I can't forget that.
I also heard that it's if you have the opportunity to actually soak the beans overnight and change the water, that also helps for better digestion of the beans. Yeah. So ideally, if you have time, you
helps
might want to
the
prefer soak them
preparation and
in
the
advance.
digestion.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the garlic is nice and golden now.
So I'll add the kale.
Perfect.
Oh, delight.
Okay.
It's sticky? No,
Hmm?
not sticky.
No.
So the kale will. Let's say that.
It would probably like
reduce?
reduce, yeah.
Yeah. So whenever you feel that I can put more,
Yep.
those.
Mm.
And I'm curious if this kale is bitter or not, because one thing that I noticed here, probably it is a different species of kale. The kale we have in Brazil is it's not bitter actually. So I was curious to see if this one will be less bitter than the regular curly one that I found in the supermarkets. And let's see.
It's interesting, you know, I don't think we use kale in Colombia at all, actually.
Really?
It's interesting.
Not even for
I don't,
like
I mean,
pregnant women?
I don't recall ever having kale in Colombia. That's something that I discovered here, actually.
And when I was pregnant, this was something that everywhere where I used to go, like for lunches when I was working, they was offering kale juice with lemonade. So they made lemonade with fresh lemons and blend with kale, and it's actually super good. And it's good because it's high iron, and the lime helps the absorption of the iron. So it was good for during the pregnancy. And I'll take a quick look here at the garlic. The garlic, the rice. Still going. And now we have time to talk.
So the rice is cooking nice and slowly.
Yes,
Feijoada is boiling.
yes.
This is also cooking nice and slowly.
And I can start peeling
It's
the
not cooking at
oranges.
all.
Oh no,
You turned it off
it was my fault.
by accident.
So I start peeling the oranges, and I want the oranges say that whole, because I will cut it.
Do you need a hand? Do you want me to do the other one?
Yes, please. And I also love the smell of oranges. I just wanna, yeah, I just need a time check actually.
So it is 5:42.
Okay, perfect. So I hope you guys are preparing a nice meal for your friends as well. And everybody is excited to try a Brazilian recipe, at least this version of the feijoada. And now we are preparing the oranges that will serve as a side dish as well, and helps with the taste and the digestion as well. And the vitamin C is also good to
Iron, I think.
exactly
Yes. I knew
to
that.
absorb the iron.
Yeah. Vitamin C to absorb the iron.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. There's food combinations as well. It's
Which-
nice when when we have like meals that actually take into account that kind of thing, like food combinations.
And all those things I had to learn here in Canada, because I knew some of the basics, but all that in-depth knowledge I was more interested in learning here, because I was actually let's take a quick look here.
Yes.
So I had to learn here. Once I start cooking, is that I start getting interest in understanding those combinations of food and combinations of ingredients, and the way that one interacts with the other for your health benefit, right? So when I started preparing food and cooking was when I got curious and I want to learn more about it. And the good part as well is that I have a friend that is a nutritionist, a dietitian, and she gives me all those tips as well.
Okay, so our audience is asking us to speak a little bit louder
Oh my God, okay.
so they can hear us better.
Okay, let's do it. So feijoada
Okay.
is cooking here.
So okay, the oranges are nice and peeled.
Okay.
How would you like me to cut them?
So I would like to cut in slices of, I don't know how much is this, like a centimeter less?
Okay, sounds good. Do you have a cutting board?
There?
Yeah. Okay, so now we're cutting the oranges into slices.
Yes. So kale is all soft already. So I'll turn this off and reserve for now. And I'll check the rice to see how it's going. This is probably getting. And I'll see if it's good. Yeah. Now I'm trying here. Perfect. And I'll give you this to put the oranges afterwards. Okay.
So, quick question, Daniela.
Yeah.
So, the sliced oranges, do you put them on the regular dish back home in Brazil, the original sort of recipe has sliced oranges, or is something that you added here because you knew that adding oranges would, because of a combination?
No, it's original.
Oh,
Yeah, the
oh,
recipe.
okay.
So just for the friends at home, I turned off the rice because I tried and it's already cooked. So the kale is already done, soft. Only just as a recap, was cooked with olive oil and garlic. The rice, which was cooked also with olive oil, onions and garlic, rice and water. And now we are just waiting for the feijoada to cook a little bit more. I will check also if the beans are soft and ready. And depending on the consistency of the stew, the sauce, I have a little trick to make it thicker because ideally, the feijoada, when the feijoada cools down a little bit, the sauce thickens a little. But now, as we don't have time and it's the first time that this feijoada is being heated, there is a little trick to make the sauce thicker.
Perfect. Okay, so
And perfect there too. It's beautiful.
orange is nice and sliced. Beautiful.
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
And I'll start moving here for serving. This.
Do you want
So-
to take care of that?
Yes, please. So this one, can put in this one,
So the rice is already out of the heat.
in the other one, please. Yeah, so the rice is already cooked. I'm just leaving here for a moment just to finish cooking, finishing making the rice soft, and while we wait for the feijoada as well. And the other thing that I will start preparing here for serving is the farofa. Put it like this. So the farofa, as I said, it's a manioc flour with spices, salt, pepper, nothing very different, but it's just a manioc flour fried with bacon, grease, and and butter because we deserve.
Butter on top of bacon fat.
Right. And it's very interesting because in Brazil, at least, we are not very overweighted. And if you pay attention to the food, it's very heavy. But it's very natural as well, I think. Yeah. So I'll just put it here to make it nice on your table. Okay.
So that's very interesting. Is that we have manioc in Colombia also, but never have I seen it in that presentation, like as a powder, which has spices and you can just sprinkle on top of your food.
Yeah, manioc actually has its origins in the indigenous tradition. So the Brazilian food has this mixture of black oranges from the colonization period, that the slaves were brought to Brazil by the Portuguese colonizers. And then there was all the miscegenation with the indigenous population, and all those cultures ended up mixing and mixturing in the food and the way that we look and the way that we behave. So it's a big mixture of the European, the African, and the indigenous cultures all together. We used to say that, so the farofa, I just want to show more or less how the farofa is. So as Jimena said, it's just a very soft pounder, manioc pounder, that we use for as a side dish. Okay, so let's just check the feijoada. I want to organize here. Just one second. It's my little OCD. Okay, let's organize this. Okay. At home, my kitchen is not that organized, but if I can, I like things organized. So let's just try this. It is smelling good.
Wow, and the rice is getting there. Ooh.
Yeah, I would let it cook a little bit more. Let's see. I'll try to, let's move this to the first one, please. I would just move this closer so we can try to get some of the beans, just to see how we are doing for the tenderness of the beans.
So it's all about the tenderness of the beans, right? As soon as they're tender, you can serve it. If you wanna let them simmer a little bit more, just to get the sauce thicker,
Exactly.
it would be ideal.
Exactly. Here we still need like around 10 minutes.
Yes.
I don't know how is your how are your friends at home with the
Okay,
preparation?
I think our friends are doing well. I have no questions from the audience.
The rice is ready. Yeah, the rice is ready. Just off now.
So the way you know that rice is ready is actually the water is completely soaked. And you can keep it covered though, so
Continuous, yeah.
continues to soak the water.
Exactly. Thank you. And all of that I had to learn recently just to do the show. And I'm fascinated with rice. I think rice, it will be my next discovery. Like now I'm curious to learn how to make risottos and these other type of recipes with rice. Let's see. Okay, here will take a few more minutes. Okay. So feijoada, it's a type of dish that you make for your friends and for a weekend meal, that it takes time to cook, but it's also a big chunk of serving, right? So it's nice to have friends and family together with you, that you can enjoy a nice meal and a nice time together. And it's also a heavy food because of the meat and the beans. So it makes you relax afterwards, and it's very conducive for a nap afterwards.
Oh
so
yes, beans are always hard to digest and always a good introduction for a siesta.
yeah, exactly. We don't have siestas in Brazil, but it could be a good addition. No problem at all.
You don't have siestas in Brazil?
No.
Oh, in Colombia we do.
Yeah, and
It's very common.
And this was also a different thing that I had to adapt here in Canada, because in Brazil we have 2-hour lunch breaks when we are working. So many people go back home and eat with their families, eat, fresh food at their houses. But then you have 2 hours to go back and come back to the work. And here in Canada you have half an hour lunch break, which is, for me, like, I can't eat in half an hour because I always ate in at least 1 hour. It's very hard for me, the lunch breaks here. I prefer skip the lunch break. We have more questions.
We have more questions. So what would be the ideal drink to have with a feijoada? Or drinks.
Drinks, yeah. So
Depending.
as I said, feijoada is a weekend meal that you are with your friends and family. So it's very common to drink with beer, to eat with beer, and caipirinhas as well, which is a Brazilian traditional drink made of cachaça. Cachaça is an alcohol-based liquor that it's made out of sugar cane, that you boil the sugar cane and let it ferment and distill. It's similar to vodka or tequila, and you make the drink. You mix your cachaça with with limes and sugar and lots of ice and lots of cachaça, because we don't have limits of how how much alcohol we can have.
In Colombia, we also have a lot of fruit juices, like natural fruit juices that we usually have for lunch or for dinner. I'm guessing in Brazil it would be the same, pretty much.
It's the same, yeah. Lots of fresh fruits like orange juice, freshly squeezed, and it's very common. And also more not exotic, but more traditional fruits from the Amazon, like caju or graviola, açaí. So you have different indigenous from the Amazon types of fruits as well that are delicious. Okay, we're almost there. And I'm curious to know how are our friends at home with your feijoada. How's your feijoada doing? If everything is okay, if you need any other tip. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What's the next question?
So we have a question.
Yes.
Do you usually serve the same day, or do you serve the next day? And what any other vegetables that are added to the dish other than kale?
That's a good question. So feijoada is usually prepared and served in the same day, but you can also continue eating on the following day, like as a leftover, which is delicious. And about vegetables, traditionally we eat with kale. And for example, in Minas Gerais, they also add like fried cassava.
Oh.
Probably something you have in Colombia as well.
Cassava is manioc, right?
Yeah, manioc. Yeah.
So yeah, we fry it.
It's
as well.
very good. Yeah.
Like French fries, but out of manioc. Very good. Yes.
Very good.
Do you guys fry it in like bacon fat?
No. If we could, probably.
Yeah.
But I think one friend at home was asking if I've been to the Amazon. And yes, I've been to the Amazon a few times. My sister used to live in Rio Branco, which is in the top, how do you say that? Northwest of Brazil. So she lived there while she was studying, and I went in Rio Branco to visit her a few times, and I had the opportunity to visit Manaus as well and Belém, and enjoyed the amazing food that they have in the Amazon, which is also very specific to that region. They have different they have different time check. They have different well, if we have 15 minutes, it's perfect. I need 15 minutes here to finish the beans. Back into the Amazon. So Brazil is a very interesting country because, as Canada, it's a big.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's bigger. It's bigger than Canada.
I don't think so, but it's as big as Canada. It's very large, and we had different histories of colonization in different groups that came to Brazil. We had we have the Dutch that went to the northeast of Brazil. So people in the northeast, they have a different accent because of that colonization. They speak more tititia, and they have a different accent. So we have the Japanese and the Italian colonization that went to the southeast, and we have the German diaspora that went more to the south. So till today, we have some cities in Brazil that mainly speaks German or Italian, and you have a huge neighborhood in São Paulo that it's populated only by the Japanese. Actually, in Brazil has the biggest Japanese diaspora in the whole world. So we have a different groups of people, and that changed the accent, changed the food, changed the cultural norms in that area, and make the Brazil interesting and culturally exciting, because every place you go, people look different, they behave different, they eat differently. So it's a wonderful journey, and I make a huge advertise of my country here. So it's almost good.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think traveling is one of the most amazing things that you can do for yourself and for your family. So if you are able to go and experiment those tastes and those moments at that place with that people, those are experiences that you can pay for that. It's like, how can you say that? It is priceless.
Priceless, yes, priceless.
Yeah, but everybody eats feijoada in Brazil. Okay, I will just check the beans here one more time, and I think we are almost there.
So the water has significantly reduced. So now you can see the ingredients popping in the casserole.
And
It looks really good.
I will just reduce the. Can we do the same process? So I think that the stew here is still too liquid, from my opinion. Need to just try one of the beans and see if it's cooked enough. Let's see. It's hot.
Okay, so we're going to share a secret with our audience. If your stew is too liquid and you want it a bit thicker, so the secret is to grab a few spoonfuls of the beans and smash them and put them back in the pot.
Yeah.
So you get a nice thicker consistency.
Yeah. So I'll ask for your help to do this.
Yep.
So the beans, it's ready.
Okay, perfect.
10 minutes.
Do you want me
Can
to do
we
that?
start removing? If you can start here and I'll do this.
Okay, so let's remove a few beans. Yeah, it is very liquidy.
So what we are doing, do you think we can remove the meat?
Oh,
Let's-
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's for the meat, right?
Yeah.
I was
So let's
removing
remove the.
beans.
That's
Let's
okay.
do that.
You can leave this here, and
Okay.
we remove the meat.
Okay.
Can we do this together?
Sure. Do you have an? Do you have another pair of these?
Yeah.
It's much easier.
So I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay.
So at home, if you have time, you just let the meat cook a little bit more, and then for 10 more minutes, and then the beans will start to break and make the stew more thicker. So all the meat is already cooked. Okay, I think we can reach now. And I'll get,
Perfect.
thank you for your help.
So,
Yeah.
so yes, right now the water is pretty liquidy. So we're going to just smash a few of these beans, put them back in the
And
pot.
again, as I'll do this, you look at on the phone.
Oh yes.
As the bean also gets colder, it will start to thicken as well. So this bean could be
So the reason
cooked a little bit more.
the reason why we put the meat out is so we can reach out for the beans, so we can smash them.
Exactly.
It's no particular reason. I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes it easier for us to reach the beans.
It was impossible to reach the beans with the meat there.
Yeah.
So you're just making a puree,
Okay.
the beans.
Nice puree, bean puree.
And-
This is the only reason to do this is because we want to thicken the sauce.
Yeah.
So if you guys leave the stew boiling for longer and simmer, it will just become thicker automatically.
Correct.
You won't have to do this. It's just because we don't have the time to have it simmer.
Correct.
And just want to
And
do it
it's a
quicker.
tip if you want, like for example, in Brazil we say if a surprise guest arrive and you just have to add more water to the beans to be able to serve to that other person as well. So you add more water to the beans, prepare more rice, and do this trick.
Okay.
The Brazilian culture is a very gregarian culture. We like to be in community. We like to have parties and have friends with us all the time. So it makes sense. We prepare like big dishes and like big pots so we can have all our families together. Okay.
All right.
So we'll boil just for 2 minutes just to get it thicker. And while we do this, I'll start to prepare here the presentation, and then we'll put the meat back. Actually, we can start putting back.
Okay. Let's do it. If you want me to, I can just put
Yes,
the meat
thank
back
you.
while you take care of the
Thank you.
Okay.
This. Yeah. So keep it here.
So it boiled for almost a whole hour, right?
Yeah, beans takes a long time to cook. That's why it's important to let it soak overnight so the beans are more soft when it starts cooking, and it takes at least 40 minutes to cook. But it's worth, in my opinion. I really like it.
Yes.
So in Colombia, you also eat lots of beans?
We also have lots of beans, yeah.
Yeah. But you eat in the, like as, how you call that, refried beans?
Oh yeah. We do a lot of leftover for the next day, and
Yeah.
we reheat it. It's kind of a
Okay.
thing
Yeah.
in Colombia.
Even
And
for
it's
breakfast,
called,
right?
It's called recalentado.
Recalentado,
So
yeah.
to reheat it,
Yeah.
and it's very common. Like sometimes you would have it for breakfast. You would have recalentado for breakfast from the leftovers of the evening, whatever it is. You know, if it's beans, and if it's lentils, or whatever it is.
That's nice. I think like Brazil and all the other South American countries, they have many things in common.
Yes.
Maybe because of the indigenous groups that are, connected somehow
Yes.
to those different countries, and
We are
even
neighbors,
Exactly.
So, like food-wise, like all the fruits and vegetables, the abundance of fruits and vegetables, we have it in Colombia also. And beans is also a cheaper ingredient to buy. It fills well your stomach, so
Rice and beans,
rice and beans is a bit of a thing in Latin America, I would say. Every country in Latin America pretty much has like a rice and beans special dish.
Yeah, and it's very interesting for me when I start cooking here in Canada. For me was okay. In my mind was I will cook rice, beans, and what else? So rice and beans was also always part of my mental food preparation. Okay, my kids need rice and beans and chicken and vegetables and this, but that combination, and it's very good as well for. It's a very nutritious combination, rice and beans. So it's a good start. I will just give a quick rinse in this container, and then we'll pass the rice here, and then we are good to go. I'll show how we prepare the plate.
Yes, speaking about beans, in Colombia we also have a meal called bandeja paisa, which is red beans, rice, but we put ground meat on the side, and we do eat pork with that meal, but it's like the skin of the pork, and it's fried. It's called chicharrón.
Torresmo, yeah.
So yeah, and so that's that's our one of the main dishes in Colombia. It's called bandeja paisa, and it's beans.
That chicharrón is also something that in some areas of Brazil they add as a side, as part of this dish as well. Yeah, more pork.
Jesus.
Yes, that's why you need a nap afterwards. Lots of. Okay, it's ready. Can we transfer
let's do
it?
that.
Yeah. It is a pork feast.
It is a pork feast.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll put it. And while we are finishing this transferring of the rice, I'm letting the feijoada to continue boiling. So the sauce continues thickening and it will be delicious. I can help you. I'll hold this. And I'm very happy that the rice, it
Came out really nicely.
I'm proud of myself.
Is
Hi.
this basmati? Did you use basmati rice or jasmine?
I use jasmine today. Yeah. And I kind of like because it has a different taste from the long white grain, which is the normal rice that we use in Brazil. I kind of like those different types of rices that we can find more easily here in Canada because we have this multicultural population here, which I find fascinating. Like back in Brazil, I used to work for United Nations, and I keep saying that here I live the United Nations. It's a completely different experience because you are living with people from all around the world, and I have Israeli and Iranian friends that spend Christmas together eating pork chops. So so you can not stretch, but you can try different things here in Canada. And I find this fascinating. Okay, so rice is
Perfect.
ready.
Beautiful.
I'll
Oops,
move
sorry.
this here. Let's keep the kitchen beautiful.
Okay. Yes, it's interesting, Daniela, because in Colombia, unless you go to a much specialized like shop or grocery, or a more higher end grocery, then you would find probably basmati rice. But otherwise, just long grain. That's the rice. So when I arrived in Canada and I saw all the variety of rices, I started, experimenting with each of them. Like I know one of my particularly favorite ones is the basmati one because I feel it doesn't glue as much as the other ones. But just experimenting with just the different types of rice was quite interesting.
Even that is interesting. Even that, for example, in Brazil, we think that the rice needs to be not gluey,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Like a more
Yes, it has to be separated.
separated,
In
exactly.
Colombia, it is. When you have a plate of rice, you can actually like the grains will fall apart, like they don't stick together.
Right? Yeah.
Which is I've never been able to do a rice like that in here.
In other cultures, it's the opposite. That you really want to have a more gluey rice to make it even easier to eat, right? If you are eating rice with chopsticks, you need more gluey rice.
Of course, that makes sense. That's probably why the different sorts of rice, maybe the Asian types, are a bit more gooey.
Because the way
Yeah,
that you eat
yeah,
is
the way that
different.
you eat it.
So I will
course.
prepare one plate here to show you how we present the feijoada. So I started with a portion of rice. I will add, let me get up. This one will be easier.
Okay, so now is this all about the presentation now?
Yes.
So a bed of rice.
Bit of rice, bit of kale. Okay, put this one as well. Some oranges and make a nice and colorful plate. We put the, okay, let's get some meat here first. Some pork chop, some pork ribs, some sausages, and then you know that we have two different types here, so make sure that you put
Lovely.
different ones. And the pork loin.
Do you want me to reach down?
Yes,
for
please. And then, yeah, you need to reach down.
It's hard to reach for the beans with all the.
So again, the sauce now is super hot, so it won't be thick now. But as soon as the feijoada starts to cool down, the stew will get thicker. You'll see at home. That's good. Thank you. And I will add, hold this please, and I'll just get a spoon. Okay, to add the, thank you. And I'll add some farofa here on the side as well. So find a nice side. And just to finalize, some bacon, because we deserve, and it looks delicious.
And chicharrón.
And chicharrón, yes. Just the final touch, the chicharrón. So this is how
Oh, it looks beautiful.
you present your feijoada. Yeah. That's it. Like it?
Yes.
Okay, let's prepare another one. Let's prepare another one because I want to eat as well.
So I hope you guys back home had a good time preparing this meal with us. We're gonna have a little pause. We're gonna sit down and have a little bite, and we shall see you back in about 5 minutes. Yes. So stay tuned. We're gonna have now an interview with Daniela about her background, her immigration adventure to Canada. And yes, just you guys back home, make sure you sit down, serve yourself a nice little plate of feijoa, and we shall talk to you in a little bit. Okay, so welcome again. I hope you guys are enjoying this beautiful feijoada. We're gonna hold on to our horses. We're gonna have it after the interview. So right now, it's the interesting part of this show. It's another very interesting part of the show. As you know, this show, it's not only a cooking experience, but it's also discovering the person and the culture that is behind the dish. So in this case, we're going to be discovering Daniela's parkour in immigration. And I say parkour because it is a lot of times parkour. Yes. You have to do a lot of gymnastics and, unexpected jumps and hurdles. Right? Yeah. So yeah, Daniela, let's start by the burning question. What brought you to Canada?
This is a very interesting question that I even was asking myself because I was participating in this show and I was watching the other chefs talking about their journey as well. So when I was in Brazil, I had, the perfect or the dream life. Like I had my apartment, I had a good job, I had my family with me, but I always had that eager or that interest in learning more about different cultures and different places. So I always wanted to live in a different place. And coincidentally, I worked for the Canadian Embassy in Brazil as a consultant for 2 years. And I really got connected with the values and the ideas of the Canadian way of life that I was advocating back in my country. And I thought that would be an amazing place to raise my kids, for them to be living and to be experiencing that culture and that value from that early age. And that was what motivated me to come to Canada, literally to give the opportunity for my kids to be raised in a place with less crime, less corruption, with better education, with a multicultural society. So that was what brought me here. That the dream to offer to my family and to my kids that opportunity of upbringing.
So it's interesting, Daniela, because, a lot of people, people immigrate for different reasons, right? Some people have to leave their countries because their countries are at war or, a natural catastrophe. And some people choose to leave. And you are among the people that chose to leave. And, you made that choice. So, which makes it almost a little bit easier to make the move, just because you prepared yourself mentally and you made the choice. Though you still go through a lot of difficulties and challenges. What sort of challenges did you did you find here?
Yeah. So as you
When you
said,
moved.
when I was in Brazil, I really prepared to come. I did all the research for the type of visa that was needed. My idea was to come here to study as well. I did my master's at the University of Victoria in political science. So I really prepare myself for this move, especially because as a single mother with two kids, they were 7 and 11 at that time. So I really had to prepare myself. So even though I did all the research and I felt that I was prepared to move, when you arrive to the place and then you realize that all the planning was not enough, that there are many other things that is not written in any book or it's not clear to people how hard it is to leave behind your family, your culture, the places that you feel comfortable and just start everything in a new place. But it's also very exciting because you have the opportunity to try different careers and try different recipes and live in a different way or experience different ways of interact with people. Like, for example, in Brazil, we are very collective and very gregarious. We like to bring everybody together. So I had to learn how to live in a less gregarian society. But at the same time, there was so much space for that Brazilian culture that in the end, it felt like welcoming and after many years, because all immigration is a process and is a long process depending on each people and your story and the way that you are prepared as well for that change. But as you're saying, some of the challenges that I had here was to raise my kids without that family support. I didn't realize when I left Brazil that I was leaving that family support behind, and that I would not have that support right away. I had to build that network of support and that community again around me and my kids to be able to thrive. So that was one of the challenges.
Would you say that maybe having connections with your Brazilian community here, with other Brazilians, that helps, keep your kind of your inner self, a part of your inner self, kind of lit up? Would you say that?
Absolutely. And this is something that it took me some time to realize as well, because once you leave your family, you're leaving your country, you're leaving your family as well. And when you are in this new place, when you find someone that speaks your own language, that understand farofa and understand the cultural information that you have, that person immediately becomes your family. Like during those 8 years that I live here in Victoria, every time that I see a Brazilian on the street, we never met each other, but once we realize, oh, you're a Brazilian, come here, get me a hug, and we hug each other because it's a cultural thing that we all miss. So when we find other people from the same culture, those people become your family.
It's like an instant connection, right, that you have with your community, with people from your community.
And that little thing that is missing, like for the Brazilians, are hugs. We miss hugging each other. And this thing, like whenever we see another Brazilian, we know that person is also missing a hug. So, but on the other side, I realized that many people also enjoy hugs. Like while I was at the university, it was very interesting because I was participating in a group called Global Community, that the idea is to unite different cultures. And something that started different and weird for some cultures, that it's hugging. Everybody knew that I loved hugs, and people came to hug me, and they later became like, I need your hugs, I need your, I need that more in-depth connection.
Yeah. Okay, we have a question. I have heard that Canadians can appear quite cold to some immigrants. What do you think about this?
That's a very good question, actually. It's just different. And it's the same way that if you go, I don't know, to Japan or to England or to, I don't know, South Africa, it's going to be different because the place itself and the history itself of the place, is different. So in Brazil, things that I learned about my own culture being outside is that the Brazilian culture is very gregarious, is very tolerant as well, like even regarding time, that we don't have the same relationship with time that Canadians have. Like, for example, we don't feel that is a bad thing to be 10 minutes late for a birthday party, because it's just a party. And but here is the opposite. Like and I understand, because the system and the way that the things work here is a different way that works in Brazil. Like when you rent a place, you have 2 hours to have the party. So you have a set time to start, a set time to end. In Brazil, we don't have a set time to end. So there is no way that you need to bother of the time of starting the party, because you don't have a time to end. Can you just turn it off? I just left the beans simmering a little bit more, but I think it's enough. So because of that difference, I think the culture here in Canada might look at first more cold, but in reality it's just the whole culture functions in a different way. So once you learn the way that the culture functions, and culture is just the way that you behave with each other, it's not more than that. So if you learn that in that place, because of the different environment, the different temperature, the different history of colonization happen, it builds the society in a different way. So it is more cold than a Brazilian culture? Yes, it is, but it's because all of the history behind that. And that is not right or wrong or better or worse, but the best thing is just to be able to experience both of different cultures and see, okay, I like this from this culture, but I like this from this culture. I like this from that place or that group, but I don't like that. So I'll keep that in that side and I'll continue my culture in that way.
I think that's one of the richness of immigrating, is because you get to cherry pick from your culture what fits you best, and from the welcoming culture. But also, if you're in a society like the Canadian society, which is extremely multicultural, and you are in close contact with people from other cultures, you can get to pick, cherry pick things that connect with you from different cultures, and you can make them your own.
And it's fascinating because actually we were never exposed to that different way of life back in our countries. So you need to have that connection and that contact with different cultures to see those differences. Like, for example, I was seeing our friend from Venezuela, one of the chefs, the way that she cuts the garlic is different than the way that I cut the garlic. So those little things that we don't even realize that we do it differently, but we only learn in that way and keep doing the way that you learn. So once you are exposed to a different way of doing anything, even cutting garlic, you can choose if it's better one way or the other way. So this is what fascinates me here in Canada, that you are able to be exposed to that diversity, that you are not in that scale back in Brazil.
Yes, indeed. And so we talked earlier on about the challenges and the difficulties. How about the success? How about what do you appreciate most about your integration or in Victoria? Or what would you appreciate more about the culture here?
Yeah, and this is actually a very interesting question, because as an immigrant, while I was back in Brazil, I had a completely different idea of what success means. Like, I had a goal in my mind. Okay, I'm going to Canada, I'll do my master's degree, I will raise my kids there, I'll get a good job, and I'll get rich. You know, all those dreams that we have when we are living, at least I had when I was leaving my country. But the reality is completely different. Like, you literally have to start from scratch. And my idea of success also changed a lot throughout the process. Like, if you stop and think, all my goals that I had back in Brazil when I decided to move, I kind of achieved those goals, but it's not where I want to be. Like, I changed completely as well during the process. So my idea of success completely changed. So despite that I have reached my goals, success for me today is really just having a calm day, just being able to cook for my friends, just be able to enjoy some time with my family and with my partner, and be simple, you know, enjoy one day at a time. So this is what success is for me today, and I managed to achieve this here. Just having a more simple life. My idea of success changed, and also that idea of what fulfills my heart changed. So some of the random or traditional success, yes, I finished my master's degree. I managed to do that. I'm raising my kids by myself in a different country without my family, having to work, study, and cook for them all the time. That is I consider a huge success for myself, because I never thought that I would be able to do that. It's a success. So it's just a different way of considering success.
Yes, indeed. And so we have a question about religion. Could you tell us a bit more about the role of religion in Brazil, and what sort of religions are practiced?
Absolutely, yes. So the role of religion is very important in Brazil. Part of the colonization was also based on the Catholic religion. We have lots of churches, and from the service in Brazil, the majority of the population is still considered themselves Catholic. So you have, from one side, all these celebrations and the cultural days that are enjoyed from the Catholic Church in Brazil. So Christmas, Carnival, Eastern, and São João, that is a very popular celebration in Brazil as well. They're all connected to the Catholic Church. But we also have more African religions, as the Umbanda, that is very practiced on the northeast of the country. And now we have a big wave of evangelicals as well. So it's becoming a more flexible and inter-religious place as well, which is always adds more for the culture.
Okay. I know. Religion could play quite a big part, a big role in your culture, in your raise, the way you were raised up, and
Yes. In my family, we never practice one specific religion. My grandmother from my mother's side, it's very interesting because she tried different religions to see what resonates with her more. And the religion that resonated more with her was the African traditional religion, the Ubanda. She literally had to try different ones. I think I kind of got that idea of trying different stuff from her. But yes, it does play a big part of the Brazilian culture as well. All the shame, all the carnival, the disconnection of shame and carnival. So
okay, interesting. So now that we're talking about your things, that you connected with when you were growing up in Brazil, how about you tell us a little bit about your growing up experience in Brazil?
absolutely. So my family is a military family. My dad is a retired pilot from the Air Force. So we had to move every 2-4 years to different countries. So I never managed to create deep connections with people because we had always to move. But on the other side, it taught me how to be flexible and to be adaptable, because I knew that in 2-3 years we had to restart everything again from scratch in a different city. So it gave me that flexibility and curiosity for different stuff. So maybe that is also connected why I came to Canada, because I still have that curiosity. Like I'm living here in Victoria, but I'm curious to see the rest of the Canada. I feel that I never experienced snow the way that is really Canada, or at least the way that my family thinks that we have snow here in Victoria. But I'm still curious to know more about other places and other cultures here in Canada. I'm sure that there are different cultures in different places of Canada as well. So.
And so it's interesting because when you grew up and you were raised in Brazil, and now you're raising your kids as a Brazilian mom in Canada. And so how do you bring that Brazilianness into the house? How do you is it important for you that your kids are connected to your culture, to the Brazilian culture?
Absolutely. It is very important for me because it's the connection with the Brazilian culture is also the connection with my family back in Brazil. So every time that we travel to Brazil, it's important for my kids to know the language and to be able to speak Portuguese properly, to understand their grandparents and their cousins, for example. So to maintain the Brazilian culture at my place, I try to speak with them in Portuguese at home, so they don't lose the language. Other things that I do, cooking, I had to learn how to cook Brazilian food, so they are still connected with the culture. And those little things, like bringing a different fabric to put on your table as a tablecloth, or bringing different decorations things. That every time that I go to Brazil, I make sure that I bring something as a memory from a trip or a memory from some specific place that we visit together, to keep those memories alive. So this is something that is very dear to my heart, to maintain that connection with my country, but also bringing some of the good things, cherry picking the good things from the Canadian culture that adds to my Brazilian culture as well, and makes something even better.
Wow. Very interesting. So we have a question about climate change. Are people talking about climate change in Brazil, and what is your sense of that?
That is a very good question. Yes, people in Brazil are talking about climate change, but not enough. And I think it's also a generational thing that is happening in Brazil. Like, for example, when I was raised at the end of the military regime, and my dad was during the military regime in Brazil. I was raised in the end of the military period, which ended in 1985. So many things were not allowed to be public, or were not publicly expressed. I don't know how to say that. But now the new generations are being exposed to that information with more transparency. So that new generation is being more aware of the importance of climate change, the importance of changing your own behaviors, and the importance of that everyone needs to make their part to support reducing the possibility of raising the climate, not only in Brazil, but everywhere. Here in Canada, we are suffering also the effects of climate change. Here in BC this week, we had the floods. In the summer, we had the fires, the wildfires here. So climate change is something that it is important not only in Brazil, but in the whole globe, because we all live in the same blue dot in the space. So yes, it is an important topic, but it's not explored enough.
Yes, it's probably the situation in a lot of countries in the world. There's probably a lot of talking as well, but not a lot of action. Okay, so with this, we're going to say goodbye to our friends back home. And I want to thank you, Daniela, very much for being part of this inspiring initiative from Culea Culture, and for being part of our journey and sharing your journey, your cultural and culinary journey with us. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And I would also like to thank the board of directors of the Culea Culture Society, and particularly Paul and Denise. They're always giving a hand, helping out. Thank you very much. Silvia Mange, president, also extremely involved in the community. So thank you very much for making this initiative a reality. We would like to thank also our funders and our community partners. We have Van City, we have Shaw TV with Shaw Spotlight, the Community Kitchen of the Victoria Market, and Here Magazine. We're very grateful, and we also would like to invite you for our next month's cooking journey. It's going to be with our friend Habus Deeb. She is from Syria, and she's part of the audience back there. She's going to be cooking for us a magluba. So if you guys are very curious to know what this is, I would suggest you tuning up with us in December. It will be on the 18th of December for a Syrian dish prepared by Habus Deeb. And I will leave it at that. But it's going to be an amazing dish, and her trajectory, her immigration trajectory is also very inspiring. As you guys know, from the conflict in Syria, she fled the country and she's here with us. She arrived as a refugee. So a completely different immigration parcours that you guys will love. And so stay tuned and join us in December. Thank you.